Okay. Welcome to Table 58. I'm Sarah. This is Marissa. Despite how we might appear or indeed behave over the next hour or so, we are both very, very sober. We're both actively engaged in the programme. You can find info and links in the channel bio and the vid description, but that's not the main reason we're here. This is just a little place we get to hang out, kick back and have a coffee. We'll talk about anything and everything except for Fight Club, because that's something that you really need to experience for yourself. Otherwise, nothing's off limits. We might joke around, we might get deep and meaningful, go off on wild tangents. There might be tears. We might swear, we might mention God. So if these things are likely to offend, just fair warning that what you're letting yourself in for. Basically, we're not wildly bothered about subscriber numbers or view counts, so we won't do the normal shiz. But we do care about you. If you've got any questions, comments, or topics you'd like us to discuss, you can drop them in the comments or you can email pods@table58.org. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are, we're so glad you're here.
Yeah, me too. Oh, you said something in the introduction that got me thinking. We might talk about God. And so I'm going to put you on the spot in a second. But I I had somebody at the university I work at, it's Catholic, and there are some nuns that are connected. And one of the nuns was chatting with me, and she says, my God is a he. And if sorry if you have a problem, sorry if that's you have a problem with that. Not in a rude way. I'm not, my tone isn't reflecting it. But my response was actually, thanks to you, it's really nobody's business who the God of your understanding is. So anyway, we might talk about God in here, but that got me thinking about the story. And then the God of your understanding or mine, but then how love is tied into that, or what love actually means. So anyway, this week, thank you. We've had a chance to talk about a few things, one of which has been popping up for you and I think both, but I want to hear more from you just a little bit on like um how you let work with me on this, but two things. What are you coming up with as it relates to feeling comfortable coming as you are and being okay being misunderstood or just comfortable, and then where love may be possibly intruding in your understanding of that through this you knowing the God of your understanding. Is that a really big question?
Yeah, that is technically three very big, broad questions.
Okay,
Is Ms.
three.
Marissa.
What are the three? Help me.
So you asked about author. Now you're testing my memory. You asked about authentic self. Oh no, you didn't. You didn't even mention authentic self. Uh, Challenges of coming in as you are, and the thing. I'm just repeating back to you now. The thing with being misunderstood, the fear of being misunderstood.
Yeah.
But the third one was about love, and I can't remember what the second one
And
was.
a God of your understanding. That doesn't have to be explained.
Yeah, yeah. All right then. So pick one, and we'll do that.
Okay, I really want to hear. I'd love to have you talk more about just this piece on when you're bumping up against coming as you are and the uncomfortability around how that's feeling. And then what you're discovering and some step work that you were doing today related to how it's resonating for your own understanding of self and the God of your understanding, which is the same thing.
Can I just tell you the bit about before we even start? You know the bit. So, excuse everybody. Everybody, just excuse us for a sec. We had this sentence that we were just discussing, which was talk less, feel more. So I just want
Yeah,
to elaborate on that a little bit first.
thank you.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think that that's possibly just my take on it, that it's a blanket statement. It's like, in general, uh, you should talk less, feel more. That is the correct phrase, isn't it?
Yes.
I think it might be more to do with talking where it'll be received, like don't cast your pearls before swine, that kind of thing. That's the feeling that I got today. I just
I have.
make sense to nobody. So
It does make sense. Actually, since everybody's not listening and just us here.
it's just us. It's just us.
I have been working on this a lot because my sponsor had asked me like 7 months ago to work more on feelings. And I said to her, I mean, I do talk about feelings. And so then I asked a couple people that have known a little bit longer what their take is on that. And they're like, you? No, you don't talk about feelings. Like, you're not supposed to affirm this. So then I'm like, well, shit, she's right. My big thing. I talk a lot in how I'm learning about my own spiritual self and teaching this to other people. Like we just do one big thing at a time. So this, to your point, don't throw, how does it go?
It's pearls
Swine before
before swine.
or pearls before swine. Discern, I guess, practicing discernment and this piece is it. This does tie into our being okay, being misunderstood.
Mm?
And the first time I read it, so thanks for saying that. I'm glad you bring it up because you noticed it right away. I'm like, I need to just shut the fuck up. That's just what I need to do. And your reflection was, well, maybe not all that. And so, speaking of being comfortable coming as I am, and being repetitive here, but regardless of what people think, that has been a daily adventure of certitude around a routine that I know to be true about the God of my understanding and recognizing other people's reflections towards it as just I mean this in the nicest way. Chatter, chaos. Like I could get distracted by it, but it's intended to remind me to stay on path. It's not intended for me to even look at somebody else and have a reflection on who they are based on it. I can for development of discernment, so I know, how I choose to come forward, how much I'm forthright with. But the overall aspect of really everything is out there for me. And I mean everything when I say it this time, to be a teacher, if I'm willing to be teachable. And so anyway, tell me, just could you just mind, can we bring everybody back in again now? When you bumped into it this week, how did it look for you? Like you got questioned about you were surprised in a story that you shared if you want to unfold it, where there was an opinion about you that was shared that you hadn't really quite
Yeah. All right
felt
then.
to be
So
true.
that conflicted with a different theme that I'm working on, which is using. So my chosen word for this year is voice, and learning to use it instead of my default position, which is just being quiet, listening, and taking everything in, and not actually inputting anything. In 80% of situations. So this at work, the my boss Dan loves geopolitics, and that's loves uh, listening to the news. Like I used to be avid follower of world affairs and all that kind of stuff. And again, is used to me now not engaging with topics. But we were driving past the protest at the time, which he wasn't looking at one little bit. We had to go through a roadblock and everything. And he was totally in the the thing of explaining to me why and what was going on and talking about all sorts of stuff. Uh, and mainly to do with like America and Trump and things. And while we're going, anyway, so I'm out the window. I'm thinking, what's that smell? There's a smell of burning tires, right? There's a load of police around. Okay, we're just coming off of what's happening, observing what's in front of my eyes, thinking he's driving a bit fast, he might get pulled. Have we got our papers with us? Yes, we have. We're all right. But thing. Uh, Meanwhile, he's off in the world of whatever, but having a rant, and he's used to me just sitting there quietly, which I did do. I just sat there quietly, and the next day I saw him, and the first thing he did was apologise to me for getting kind of not heated, but yeah, having a rant, I think is how he put it. Sorry about ranting at you, whatever, blah blah blah. And I said it's all right. And he said, yeah, because he was telling his wife. He says, yeah, because I was telling my wife. And I said, I did explain to her, yeah, because Sarah's she's a soft kind of closet Trump supporter. So I used my voice right then and there and said, Dan, just because I don't either passionately agree with you or passionately disagree with you doesn't mean to say that I'm supporting the opposite side to you. That's how it seems to have to be. And I did want to kind of say where I stood, and I did. And I just said I'm choosing to operate in a different arena. I don't want to be in that world anymore. But I am engaged. I'm just engaged in a different way. I'm my thing is spiritual now, and it does wind people up when you say that, when they are really um, uh, invested in something, invested in like a concept, and which I used to be. I totally understand it, and I used to be on basically on the same side as Dan. Then I started looking at the other side to get the balance view and all that. So I've done all that kind of thing, got a much broader view of everything, and I just see it now like it's just a battery. This is nicked from my time stamping right now. This is Big Bear. Onward to castles and airships. I'm right here. I can't introduce you just at the minute. So, our tiny audience isn't ready for you yet, but just big respect and changed my life dramatically. But how he described it was this guy I've just paid, respect to. Was it's a battery that whole the whole kind of framework of that, the left and the right, and all that is just a battery, and all that's happening is you charge one side of it, a bit, give this side a bit of a win, let them have a win, and then you charge the other side, give that side a bit of a win, and just keep that going. But the main thing is you've got to keep that battery going, and if people disengage from that, it'll go away. But we're so kind of that's an ingrained thing. So I made a conscious decision like 3 or whatever years ago to disengage from that completely. And it is seen by people who are still in that as being a traitor, basically, either going to the dark side or being laissez-faire, being what do you call it? People who just don't vote ever. They're abstaining from everything.
Abstain. Yeah.
So you're just burying your head in the sand then. If you're not going to engage, this is what Dan says to me. So it's like you're like a turkey voting for Christmas. And if you're gay, you should be out on gay pride marches and stuff. I've never liked gay pride, ever. And this is me using my voice. It's nothing to do with sexuality. It's to do with sexual stuff in public, in a public space. And the one thing that I saw really turned me off was a major city near me in the UK that everybody used to go to, like for that's where our big Pride March was. The Pride March started at like 11 in the morning, and there's mums with babies walking past, and then there's kind of half naked gyrating men, and it's not nothing to do with sexual orientation. It's that thing in the place where you would normally be buying your bananas. Do you know what I mean? And then suddenly there's all this kind of sexual erotica in a thing that kids can see. I'm not really up for that, and I never have been. So yeah, so what upset me more about not his opinion of me, because I'm used to that, was him telling his wife, and his wife then thinking that I was some kind of Trump supporter. So I felt the need to tell her when I emailed her, you know, kind of a run of the mill email. Oh, P.S. I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not an any of them supporter, and I've just removed myself from that whole thing because it's completely fucking futile. It's it's give me the courage to accept the things I can't change. I can't change that, but I can change me, the courage to change the things I can. I can change me, and I can show love to the people around me physically, and I can show love to the people that I'm connecting with online. That's what I can do. I can't, I've got no control over. And the thing that I'm doing, the little thing, the little showing up and fucking loving people is way more powerful than any of the shenanigans going on by the leaders. And they can't touch it. So there endeth my rant for today.
That's it. It's over.
Mhm.
You got me thinking about just a teensy here. Okay, well, why don't you do so? Yeah, you started that, but then just talking a little bit about if you're ending that piece being it's okay being misunderstood. Okay, then I will just for a second. I I've run into this. Okay, that was a great example. When I'm going to take this a little deeper here. I'm going to talk about recovery and my own healing. I the one of the first things that I needed to do that I was asked to do in order to connect to, because we were talking about authentic selves, in order to connect was to start listening with neutrality. Like your battery example. It's supposed to be, both parts need to be charged, not emotionally. This need to be part, or both parts are required for the battery to work. Okay, let me put it that way. And that neutrality piece, and specifically, I was asked to consider this as it related to people in my life with a title or a label that I thought meant something differently, like mother, father, pastor, teacher, and take that off of because what it was doing was because of what I had learned about myself, I was showing up as I thought the people needed me to show up to please make them happy, not get in trouble, be the one not causing the problems. And I won't get into all the reasons where that comes from, but when I started to understand that I could listen neutrally, I also really had to start practicing talk less and feel more because I was starting to feel a lot of rage, which is a feeling, rage and anger, which are feelings that I've had a very difficult time accessing or feeling comfortable saying. And I do not want to go on a tangent, but there's a book that one of my sponsees shared with me a couple of years ago called The Dance with Anger, related to women and our experience. It's a wonderful read. So I started to try to explore this because I didn't know how to feel anger. And then I learned that when I cry, I'm crying when I'm angry. I'm not even really crying when I'm sad. This is a couple of years ago, so that I'm going back to that far of doing this work. And I got to this point when I was starting to talk less and listen more and practice neutrality. My mom had been on a visit the first time I had seen her in 5 years, and I was sober, and we were going to be in my home, which was not very large. And I have two cats, and she's allergic to cats and actually fairly, for her, afraid of them. So she still came and she stayed with me. But I used this feedback because I was only a year sober at the time, which really is nothing. Okay. Well, trying to work on something that I had been establishing some very, very poor habits for a while through drinking, but also it was covering up a lot of things. So I started to get really angry because suddenly spirit and experiences were revealing to me through doing more listening and less talking, how often, even by the people that I thought knew me the most, wasn't the case. Nor was the case of what I had been told was true, was the truth through people's actions. So I started to, because it didn't, and then I had to look at fear. And I was like, I'm afraid. And somebody said to me, almost admonishingly, what are you afraid of? Like, kind of like, that is ridiculous, kind of. And I'm like, but I was like, oh, wait a minute. That reflection is very accurate. What am I afraid? Like what? But my neurological system was so unwired because I would have consequences before. So recognizing that I'm not in that place as a human today, regardless of the person in front of me, even though I was in the very beginning stages of learning it, I had tools that were very useful to me. Neutral and talk less and feel or just be there neutrally and not feel actually in this case was really important because my feelings were not accurate. Although the anger I do believe was appropriate, but it allowed that anger, that feeling to surface so I could start to see it. Then I had to have some really frank conversations with my sponsor and God about how much I need to reveal all of this
Mhm.
because to who and to where. Because the same ways that I was experiencing people that I thought really had my back, like the experience or whatever, would be loving, kind to me by nature. I mean, I'm your whatever, insert word. I'm this, therefore, wouldn't you that? Or I do this, wouldn't you do that too? And so being able to remove kind of self-seeking, I guess I could call that today, or in a sense, self-pity and deceit, actually. I mean, that's me playing and that's me trying to get something I need from you instead of being brave enough to just minimize contact, keep it very simple. I do not have to throw a bomb into something because I've discovered a truth.
Yeah.
And then to get to then where just as Peter, then it came to me after going through those things, months of it, that this rage and like, I can't believe you're like telling this narrative of me and that you're like living behind it. Not to mention, oh, discernment. You don't really know anything about my life anyway. And that's okay. It's not that your fault. And I don't need to feel bad about that. And if you want to tell a story about me to anybody you feel like, I used to think that would define who I am. So by staying in this practice, suddenly I'm like, I'm okay being misunderstood by whoever. And when that then came my way, which I love because you're in it and I want to transfer over to you right now, just as I wrap this up, that freedom, and I just want to say it doesn't just it comes in waves when I learn a new thing, but the more I stay in it, because it will be the same person that I'll find I'm encountering it with. And I'm like, whoa, I don't suddenly I'm like, who I am speaks for myself, really. I mean, that's it. And this loving kindness is that you're talking about too, is just the baseline. And when I'm in that and stick to my routine of what it's been looking like now for 4.5, nearing 4.5 years, with the God of my understanding who does work to and through us for the healing of all living beings, that tell whatever narrative you want. All I have to do is keep my head where my feet are and live in the truth. And then stay like every time I would zing, just to be like, okay, retreat, retreat, because wait a minute, that is, man, I'm telling you, it makes me angry. I'm like, you're fucking my life up. Like you've taken away things from me at your own will. Like you want, and then because I kept being told, no, 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 we don't do that. We don't do that because it's all a stage, is what I was told. People are here to teach us. That's it. So then I'm like, oh wow, this is quite an adventure. So really who I am and coming as who I am is really, really all that's required? Are you sure? That's your trick.
But that's what I'm waiting for is the but, you know. But I'm fine coming as my authentic self as long as it's the nice version of me, the one that I'm willing to present to everybody. It's not the shitty version or the tearful version or the bloody weak ass version. Do you want to read that thing out? The face of God one, or me read it out? Do you mind if we read it out? Because that was
Mind?
scrolling.
Well, I have the face of God. Is
Yeah,
this from?
it's about it's you bit that you wrote about your daughter moving to college 2 weeks ago that you wrote back in.
Oh, you want me to read that?
Yeah, if
Uh,
you, I don't think there's anything, but it's you obviously. But yeah, I would like this to be read out. You've muted yourself. You're muted.
oh, that's good. Do you want to give the preface as to why I shared this with you? And then that'll be
Yeah.
great to hear. Okay, and then you can
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah. All right. So this morning, but how far back do I go to yesterday? To
You
yesterday.
can. Yeah, go for
Yeah.
it. Just
Right. So, uh, see, this is the bit I have problems with how to how do I present stuff? Right. So there was a small meeting yesterday, and what we do is pick a word at the end of the meeting to focus on to the next week. And one of us picked the word love. My immediate reaction to that was yes, I was waiting for somebody to pick that because it's like it's the only word. It is the word. It's not Greece isn't the word, love is the word. It's the only word. Love is like this. All the other words start down here somewhere. It's like a brilliant word, and I was really pumped about it. And yeah, then this morning I was doing my morning kind of routine and everything. And I was also preparing for my sponsor meeting. So I'm currently doing step 4 stuff. So I was thinking about that and listing resentments and things. And I suddenly felt completely lost, tearful, and emotional. And I've been emotional. I haven't been tearful all week. Like I've been pretty stable, really, really busy. And it just happens that this weekend I'm not so busy. I have got time. I've had longer in the mornings to do my kind of meditation and all that and writing, journal writing things. And I think that might have contributed to it. But I just had a thing of emotion. So I'm trying to let emotions come up rather than, as part of my practice rather than suppress them. So I kind of just poked it a little bit. And what I was doing at the time was I was just putting into a group chat what the word was for next week. So everyone's got, like the week to think about it. And I was like, why is that just set me off? And it was, I've just kind of thought about it for a little bit, and it was what I was feeling was really fucking defensive about love. And I know this is familiar and it's come up before, is um like I'm all right giving it out and everything, but I'm not brilliant at receiving it, like most people aren't. And it going out, the thing that scares me is that if there's deep, intense love, then there's also the potential for loss of that. You know, if you invest love in something. So for me, what immediately came to mind was my dog. Um, oh, yeah, whatever that thing. But
I know where you're. Okay, yeah, stay.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was with you there.
But
Yeah. Okay.
that's my dog is the thing that I've experienced having died, the bereavement of, and I'm particularly close to. You know, I was particularly, and I know that that's just an attachment thing, and you know, thing, but that's my experience of. But intense, and I did the whole, you know, it's fine. But the bigger upset for me was receiving it, and I still don't have that when I do my prayer to my higher power God, like a prayer that I've written in the morning, the bit that I'm still stuck on and I still is that he loves me. I just say the words, but I haven't. That isn't in my heart yet. I can't say that from my heart yet. And when other people are offering me, which they either are, or at least they're stating their intention to do so. They'll stand right in front of my face and say, however you come as your authentic self, whatever state you're in, whatever you're going through at the minute, we will love you. I will love you. And what I felt was I don't want that. I want to earn it. I feel much more comfortable having to earn it. I can operate in that. I know what transactional relationships are. I've seen, you know, my immediate thoughts are of my kind of partner relationships. I can kind of see, I'm starting to see that a bit more clearly now. But even just with my friends and things, is where it works is if somebody wants something from me, I know where we stand, right? If somebody is in front of me saying, I don't want anything from you, you are just fine as you are. You're absolutely enough. I love you for who you are. I I don't know what to do with that. I'm not I'm not used to it. I don't know how to operate with that. And I'm suspicious of it. I'm like, yeah, no, what do you really want? And I'm waiting for the but. I'm waiting for the time when my authentic self comes out so enough that fucks somebody off, and they say, "Well, yeah, well, I know I said that I'll hold space for you anytime, but you've just overstepped the line there." That's what I'm waiting for. And what it on my I won't go too much into it, but the thing how it affects me, I added in the thing tranquility, and what it does, that concept of somebody offering me unconditional love and allowing me to be my authentic self, is it's temporarily disturbing my tranquility, and my tranquility is the thing that I protect uh, above everything else, or it has the most value. And I know this is just temporary, and I know this is something that I walk through, and I know I've got the tools to walk through it, and I know that I have people to walk through it with. Actually, accepting that is you know, I'm struggling with it at the minute.
It makes it hard to breathe.
Yeah.
That's what I led to this piece that I wrote and then keep going. Yeah, I think this is such a great topic. So, okay, so you want me to really read it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. So I wrote, so when you shared that with me this morning, because you left me, I'm grateful because we are learning. And I want to share this. When you said to me like a couple months ago, I don't need anything from you. And we started reading and learning about, you introduced me to Ruth and Naomi. And also, I hear you a lot when you say this, which I really hear for I think a reason that you don't want, you just want stability and showing up, and that there's nothing loaded in this. I'm just a constant presence that is not going to be rug pulling. And actually, your actions align with that. Even emotionally, I haven't gotten a rug pull. Even through hard conversations, it just hasn't happened. And it's allowing me because I'll notice the 0 to 10, like, oh, I exposed too much. Now what's going to happen is going to happen, and
Yeah.
that fear
Yeah.
around loss, which is really another huge feeling like love, but to our drinking things, I like the huge big feelings that feel good. Except now, I also like big feelings even when they don't. And this loss of if I get so far with you and feeling a certain in my evolution of trusting and vulnerability, then yeah, it does have a depth of loss when it's gone. Or it could be even in animals, as you're talking about attachment. Anyway, I went through this a year ago when my daughter went to college, and I was just going through a lot. It wasn't just that. So this is where when you call me, when we talked this morning, or you left me a video sharing and that you were emotional around it, that this is where this is reading come up to the viewers, that I thought I wrote this and I was wondering if it might connect on love. So here's how it went. This is from September 17th of 2024. And I said to you, I think this is about love, but we'll see how it hits you. So you could tell me us after you read it. Okay. My daughter moved into college 2 weeks ago, and I swear my heart felt like it was ripped out of my chest. To be clear, she is my only child, so that's a real thing. But to also be clear, I moved a whole 2 states away from her when she was in 10th grade to get sober. Speaking of feeling like my heart was ripped out of my chest. And so I thought with the two of us having nearly 3 years to practice distance, that I had tied up any future transition emotions with beautiful wrapping paper and a big old bow on top of it. But alas, that most definitely was not the case. What a mess I was in for nearly 2 weeks after. This past weekend was the culmination of my transition angst, and I found myself after work in my very own bathtub screaming at God, tears running down my face, screaming over the loss of my child and how I'll ever understand this new way to parent, screaming over my identity as a mother slipping away from me, screaming for the inhumane things we endure in our lifetimes being silenced and punished without even having a chance to defend ourselves, screaming about my friend who relapsed after stacking up several years of sobriety and her pain, screaming at the unjustness of hearing the heartbreaking news that my eighth-grade-year-old second cousin has received an unforgiving diagnosis and the pain their family has to endure. Screaming at God, is this what you want? Huh, Mr. Tough Guy? And after I let it all out, I sat in my tub, my skin warped by the water, and I let spirit cleanse me. Begrudgingly and willingly, I stayed in the water. I stayed long enough for my tears to subside, my breathing to return, and I sat in the dark quietude and gave thanks that I could give it all to God to carry. Every raw bit of my emotions, knowing that it is indeed God and God alone who sees us exactly as we are and who does the work to remove all of this from us when we let Him. I woke up the next day and I still felt like I just may bite someone's arm off if they got too close to me. And then, out of nowhere, my 72-year-old friend was knocking on my window and I was busted. I could no longer hole up in my home, and I certainly wasn't going to bite her arm off. So I invited her in, offered her a glass of water, and we sat on my couch and she just listened and loved me. That is the face of God. That is the God of my understanding. And that is the God who comes to all of us when we allow ourselves to come exactly as we are and are willing to just let Him do the work on our behalf. His way, not ours. I love you all. Trust that when you feel the furthest from God, Spirit is closer than you can ever imagine. Our family will get through this. My friend who is still figuring out her sobriety will heal. And we will do all of this together because that, my friends, is where the most beautiful, magical healing unfolds amidst one another. And my tagline, be kind, spread joy, give thanks to the creator. So did it hit? Did love come through? Ooh, I got emotional.
Yeah. Yeah, it did, and it was the face of God thing that really chimed. Like the first thing for me was for day one, just before day one, was saying, God, I know you're there, God, I know you're there, but I can't, show me, show me. What's the point? I know that you're there, but and that the I will never say that again. I'll tell you that because I did. I had a third of a second uh, experience then of both God and hell, and but in my first online meeting, it literally was people. I realized it then that that's how God shows himself is through people. It's like oh, there you are. All right, I get it now. Okay, you're right in front of my eyes the whole time. And yeah, this I will just do this. That with where is it there? Was oh, that's grown. Uh was one of our smaller group that we both belong to. Uh said wrote in our thing, may I remember as a prayer, may I remember I'm never meant to heal alone and the community itself is a living miracle. And the that because you said to me this morning, I said, oh, I feel like I've let somebody down because I didn't respond in a certain way, and it was the whole thing, like your friend on the sofa, just holding space. It took me a while to know what that meant, and it's just being there, really, just being there and listening. It's not necessarily sorting the thing out or any kind of not necessarily words of wisdom or anything. It's just being there while somebody's going through something. And the person who's going through it having the courage to go through it in front of people. It's like trusted people. It can't just not just anybody, but when there's people that can be trusted, is to allow. I shared. I'll just speak from my point of view. Is that I want to isolate. I want to go run and hide, sort it out myself, and then come back out when I've figured it out for myself. I don't want other people to be involved in it, and partly it's just a self-sufficiency thing. I'm used to doing it all by myself, and I don't need anybody's help. Thank you. That's like petting a child. But it's also that fear of not a fear, but you don't want to. I don't want to put my sadness or whatever it is I'm going through onto other people. Do you know what I mean? It's like that. It's
You know what? Yeah. I think that too, but then I think I don't mean to be prematurely cutting off here. Maybe I am. So, but because I've been thinking about this a lot, that I think also uh when I'm in a process and going through it, I know how quickly that my ideas and thoughts around it will change because I am in a heightened emotion during that time. And I actually don't really enjoy giving light to all of that because it's not true yet. And so when I find myself telling the story of the way that I feel, this is a while ago, I've learned what I'm learning and have learned that for me, it's been consistent. When I share during that time, I'm typically sharing with somebody that I want to relate to my pain. It's not usually the right person either. And then it's encouraging me to, like, at least for me, it hasn't been. And I'm like perpetuating something that I no longer believe to be true anyway, because I know that it's chaos today. Like, I know that sounds freaking weird, I'm sure to people a lot, but that's, I guess, what I'm learning as my call to like connect with God and just pray. And when I talk about retreat a little bit, just to get to the next day, because it's not, it's an actual, it's my neurological system going off, like really off. Now I'm talking like this is part of the growing period. I guess this is a lot. The other thing is sometimes there are like really big things. Like then the difference here, when I realized that, okay, that was a small circumstance for me to learn from, which the life is full of those. That you bump into with a colleague, maybe at work, or somebody cuts you off or honks at you or gives you the finger when you're driving and I get kind of irritated, things like this, versus I'll just share publicly for a second. I'm in a state right now, Minnesota, where we're encountering quite a bit of difficult things to be a part of. And this last week, I this face being the face of God, and then getting to the point when like my anger is actually like not misappropriated, nor is it being put on other people, but it does need to be shared while I'm in a process. Because I was starting to think like, what is wrong with me? And my one of my colleagues sat down with me and she's like, are you okay? And I did take the offer to lean in because we've been able to practice this a few times and so far it's been very consistent, and that's a gift to be in a place of employment and have a colleague actually follow behind their actions, what their invitation is for you to be vulnerable. And when I got to Friday of last week, I was having a very difficult time constraining and containing my emotions. And at one point, I was sitting and I was like, have you seen me like this yet? And I've only worked there 4 months. So, and this was a feeling that I have that doesn't come out of me very often. And so she said, no, but I didn't have a chance to tell you this. You were sharing with me, Jesus flipped over tables, Jesus had emotions. She said to me, Jesus felt this way too. Jesus felt, I was like, wow. And she goes, Marissa, if there's ever a time to feel what you're feeling, now is it. And I just, um, going back to this love in the face of God, and just you're talking about the smaller groups that we're in, remembering like it's just enough to hold space. It is just enough to show up for people in this circumstance, communities, but and to be in this circumstance to sharing it with you while I'm going through it, because I'm finding I don't have words. And maybe for me, this message, talk less, feel more, is very appropriate because I'm stunned by even my family who hasn't even been like, not to criticize them, to point of observe how easy it is to be out of touch of what really is happening. And interesting how much we can be intrigued. I'll just toss this out. It does not specific to anything, but how I can look at unjustness and hear this like, oh, let's just say as a church, we don't like to see that people are being in cages. Okay, so we're going to do something about it. I'm like, well, now I'm like, we are in a circumstance in this state that is real. And no matter what people are saying anywhere, it just really, I can see how easy it is to disconnect and think it's just not really actually happening. And so what I'm stunned by is how that is real for people. Like I'm not picking on my mom or anything like that. I'm just saying none of that. None of that. None of that even like because I don't know. I guess it must not be accessible to people to really think that this has feelings attached to it. This is the chaos happening here, the safety that's threatened by tons of people, and people are like, oh, it's not really. Yes, it is. You can't even walk outside without seeing it. It is really people aren't going outside, like this is happening right here. And we've been watching it in the news. It's like, oh, what should we do about Palestine? Let's go on a protest piece in our own country, like so I guess being that thinking to me, I'm really in this feel more, talk less, because there isn't nothing. There's nothing that words can do right now, really, that it's just holding space and bearing space that's so powerful. Weren't you talking about singing Amazing Grace in that thing?
Yeah.
Will you tell us about this?
Yeah.
Does it fit here? Does it fit here?
This is what? Well,
Does
yeah,
it fit here?
yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It's my favorite clip of all time. Best bit of content I've ever seen ever, and it probably will say that it was done 5 years ago, and all it is the song "Amazing Grace" played on bagpipes with my favorite uh, podcaster talking over the top of it, and somebody's clipped it with a bit of footage from Lord of the Rings. And what the guy is talking about is over the sound of Amazing Grace. He's talking about the breath of man, and is using the instruments literally. So the bagpipes literally are the breath, the soul of the men is kind of breathed into these bags to make the sound. The sound is a brilliant musician as well. This guy, he, the power of music. So he's using the power of music, and what he was talking about just prior to the clip is how music evokes emotion in us and how powerful it is. So he's talking over this clip of over the sound of Amazing Grace, and there's a bit where it crescendos, it just goes up to the, he says, there it is, that's the impact on that, that's, you just felt that in your soul. There's nothing, or you can just feel the hug from your creator. There's nothing that can get in. And this was 5 years ago. He's talking about COVID and stuff, but he's saying nothing can come between you and that hug. It's ingrained in you. It's in every cell of your body. This is that you just felt, and you literally feel it. It's got feels in it. In the music, you literally feel it. There it is. There it is. It's right there. That's in your soul, and nobody can touch that. And lies can't penetrate this sound. And that, to me, is one of my favorite things of all time. And I listen to it regularly, just to remind me of what the power of love is, and that it is. It's like the spider thing today. It's like the Mark Nepo one talking about the spider. So shall I just quickly,
Yes.
without reading it? So basically, Mark Nepo's one for today, yeah, the 18th, is the spider and the sage, and it's talking about in the story of in India that a guy is he helping the spider? Does he help the spider? But it's a poison spider. I'll just read
Yes,
the
he's
first
helping him.
sentence out of. Yeah, he goes to the river to pray. Then he sees a poisonous spider struggling in the water and cups his hand to carry it ashore. As he places the spider on the ground, it stung him. Unknowingly, his prayers for the world diluted the poison. The next day, the same thing happened. On the third day, the kind man was knee deep in the river, and sure enough, there was a spider, legs frantic in the water. As the man went to lift the creature yet again, the spider said, "Why do you keep lifting me? Can't you see that I will sting you every time? Because that's what I do." And the kind man cupped his hands about the spider, replying, "Because this is what I do." And then Mark Nepo goes on to kind of state that this is what humans do. And I've had this for ages. Contrary to what we're fed, we are it's in our human nature to love each other, to help each other. It's that we can't help but do it. That is what humans are here for. And I mean,
Even if we get stung, so it's almost like meeting each other where we're at, like letting someone lean into you where they're at. And the part I love is that even though it stung him unknowingly, his prayers for the world diluted the poison.
yeah, kind of, and he says from the littlest thing, it's nature just to help somebody with the shopping bag, or we do it instinctively. It's not something that we have to learn. You just instinctively would help in a small way. Uh, there's many reasons to be kind, but perhaps none is compelling as a spiritual fact that it is what we do. It's how the inner organ of being keeps pumping. Spiders sting, wolves howl, ants build small hills that no one sees, and human beings lift each other no matter the consequences, even when other beings sting. And that's just it. It is what we do. That's what we're built for. And that was that's the commandment. Love one another. And
Yeah.
it's all there. This isn't a skill. Loads of times I say this is a skill that we have to learn. We have to practice this over and over and over because we've got to keep. Yeah.
No, because listen, I've got something with this. This is Puff, but the dragon, I'm into dragons because this is why. I think that it's like the monster. We've created something into be a monster. For whatever reason, you blow fire or you're mean to me, you sting me every time I touch you. Now what? You're the bad guy, Positive, negative, we're doing it politically, but for my spiritual well-being, like Mark is saying, no, we just show up in loving kindness and suddenly not only does this fellow calm down, but the breathing fire suddenly has me do we do it together? And I've got a torch out for warmth and food and our gifts can all then be revealed because listen, I was a dragon too. I blew venomous fire all over you. And if I don't maintain my spiritual practice, I will continue to do that. But I had Kay, who I showed up and tapped anyway, did what Mark's talking about and loved me even in the midst of that, which gave me the breath of God to learn how to experience the breath of God by receiving it through somebody else. So yeah, I mean, this is some powerful stuff for healing for the whole world. And yes, I mean that. It's
Yeah.
been an hour. It's been an hour. And how could we end on anything
It's
more
been
powerful than that,
exactly an
frankly?
hour.
Yeah.
Light bulb, exactly an hour.
It is
Were,
wonderful.
were you watching the clock?
Not on purpose, but we started talking about this, and I'll just share if you saw me typing at 1:11, we talked about Amazing Grace, 1:11 my time. And so I messaged you, I was like, wow, this came through at 1:11. And then I just got to thinking, there's a group called Brother Frantic called The Face of God. And I think we could post these two. And in the meantime, I'm like, oh, and what if, like, this is such a highlight to wrap up on, frankly, because it's a loving, kind God through Mark Nepo, and then it ended up being just that time too. So yeah,
Okay.
that's why I was watching the clock because 1:11, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, you're right. Let's get in the can. Let's get in the can.
Yeah, yeah.
Any comments? Come on, somebody. Any comments? Drop them here, or you can email. What is it? pods at table58.org. Ready?
Okay, ready. Thank you. See you guys.
Not meeting for all. No, record. Ready? What was
Okay,
that?
bye.